Curiously, it seemed there actually had been 3 teens who had run away from the motel when Sherry walked out of her room. They may have been involved in some other mischief, but I knew they hadn't done the tires. I watched my wife cry inconsolably for a while. I wanted to take her in my arms, but she wasn't my woman anymore. She was a stranger. "Will you tell me why you did it?" I asked. It took her a long time to smother the tears and get control of herself. Melissa and Cal had told me some of what she'd said in Las Vegas. I wanted to see if she could add anything to that. "I don't know, Ron," she said a little bitterly. "It's like a whole other world and out there. It didn't feel real from the minute I got off the plane. Then I got drunk. The lights were so bright. It was like they hypnotized me. You weren't there, and I was mad you wouldn't come with me. Then he was talking to me so nice, telling me how sad it was that I was alone. After a while, I just gave in, Ron." The last phrase was wailed rather than spoken. I looked at her, and for the first time I felt contempt. "Well, that's just," I said, trying to find the words to tell her how I felt. "I gave up. They wouldn't come. God damn it. None of that is any excuse," I said, finally exploding. "First of all, I had to go to Denver and fix that damned glitch in the proposed power delivery system. If I hadn't gone, I'd have been fired, and if I didn't have a job, we couldn't make the payments on that nice big house you just had to have a couple years back. I couldn't be with you in Vegas, damn it. It wasn't a matter of not wanting to. Don't you think I would have if I could? What else was it? Oh yeah, you got drunk. Well, excuse the hell out of me, sugar pie honey bunch. But who the hell told you to get drunk in the first place? Are you a child that someone has to take a glass of rum out of your hands when you shouldn't be drinking it? F you. You had no business even thinking of getting drunk if you can't control who you let to F. Bright lights? Hypnotized? What the heck does that mean, Sherry? Should everyone treat you like you had some kind of mental problem because you might be hypnotized by the pretty lights? Give me a break. I took some deep breaths and leaned heavily on the left arm of my chair. Then something else she'd said made me mad all over again. I sat up straight and leaned across the table toward her. "And you said he was talking to you real nice. Isn't that just precious? You're an attractive woman, Sherry. Of course, men are going to come on to you. So what? Who the goddamned hell told you a married woman has a right to even think about letting some strange guy console you and flatter you and tell you how rotten it was that your husband wasn't there? Huh? That's what he did, didn't he, Sherry? He told you I was a sorry son of AB for not being there for you, didn't he?" She nodded, mopping up some of her tears with an already sodden tissue. "Yeah," I said contemptuously. "And you lapped it up, didn't you? If you're enjoying my content, consider joining my Patreon community. By becoming a patron, you'll get access to full parts of my videos much earlier than everyone else. Plus, you'll be supporting me to create even more awesome content for you. Check out the link in the description to join now." I shook my head in disgust. "Damn it, Sherry. You talked about being drunk and drinking. You were married. A married woman or a man. Hell, it applies to all of us. The fact is you were supposed to act like you were a recovering alcoholic. I mean that. A married person is like someone who can never touch alcohol ever. But you did. You know what? The first time you danced with him too close, the first time you let him touch your arm in a possessive way, you were an alcoholic breaking your vow to never touch the stuff. Our marriage vows said we would forsake all others. Sherry, forsake all others. What the hell did you not understand about that? Do you think I'm so ugly and unattractive, so inept in bed that I couldn't have been doing what you did? Don't you understand I get chances to spend a night or two with strange women every single time I go on a trip? Damn it, I have to travel 7 or 8 times a year, and every place I go, there's a secretary in the office, a professional woman from down the hall, a waitress in a restaurant, or a woman in the hotel bar where I go for a nightcap. Maybe it's just a girl I pass in the corridor going to my room. But every time I go somewhere, there's a woman who I might be able to F, but you know what? I never have. I've been propositioned 10 times. I mean by 10 women this last year alone, I think. And I've never even given one of them a second's worth of consideration because I had my loving woman at home. Guess you fooled me, huh? I said bitterly. If I'd only known. I shook my head disgustedly. There was no sound but crying in the room for a long while. Sherry just sat there hunched over. Her shoulders were shaking from the sobs she didn't want me to see. I didn't know why Sherry had wanted to talk to me, but it was I getting in most of the talking. I started up again, breaking the long silence. You should never have let that SOB touch you at all, Sherry, I said, starting in again. I couldn't let this topic die, it was killing me. The first time he did, and you let him get away with it, you took a swallow from the cup that you could never drink from if you wanted to stay married to me. The first time you let him kiss you, you did it again. The second he put his hand on your ass, your chest, hell, what's the point? Abruptly, my rage left me. I slumped in my seat and tried to breathe slowly. I don't know else there is to say, Sherry, I said finally. I just know you've ruined something that was really beautiful. You know that? Now, I don't have anything but pain, and it won't go away. I loved you with all my being. Hell, I still love you, I guess. I haven't learned how to turn it off yet, and then back on like a faucet the way you have. Ron, Sherry said tentatively, if you can still love me, we could try again. She stopped when she saw me shaking my head. But you made love to me so good that Sunday before you left me, she wailed, shaking her head in confusion. Not hardly, I said brusquely. I wasn't making love to you that night, Sherry. I was F you so you'd remember it when I left. I'm sorry I did it now. It was a mean thing to do, something childish, arrogant, and worthless. I'm sorry I did it, I said. Sherry looked shocked and then dismayed. She'd pinned her hopes on me having a desire to get back with her. We sat looking at each other for a time. Oh, and no, I can't try again, I said, remembering the question. I don't have anything left to try with, Sherry, I said, at last. I don't believe a word you say. I know for a fact that you've lied in your teeth every day since you started F that bastard. You were deceiving me every minute of every day, and that's one cruel, heartless thing to do to someone who loves you. I can't possibly trust you anymore, Sherry. I can't imagine ever trusting you again out of my sight. I can't live that way, Sherry, I sighed, leaning my head back on the back of the chair and looking up at the ceiling tiles. I don't know what I did to deserve this, Sherry, I said musingly. Based on that last night of S we had together, I seem to be able to satisfy you sexually. If I can't, you're one hell of an actress. I never saw so many fake all strung together that night if that's what you were doing. I was quiet for a bit, trying to get it all straight in my mind. You know, Sherry, I know I'm not perfect. I don't always see when you're unhappy about something. Sometimes I don't pick up on your signals quick enough. I know there are times you want to talk to me, and I'm wrapped up in something else and I don't understand. There are times I don't have a clue what it is you want me to do, and I've never learned how to talk to you when you're mad. But right off the top of my head, I've never shut myself off from you. I try to be considerate, even if I don't succeed all the time. Hell, I only watch one football game a week on TV just to make room for a little extra time with you on weekends. I take you out when we can afford it. I bring you flowers or a little something every so often. I guess I don't do everything I could, but I try. I guess there are a lot of times I'm not the man I'd like to be, but what the goddamned hell did I ever do to you to make you do something like this? Nothing at all, Ron, Sherry said in a rush. It was just me, all right? I did something incredibly mean and stupid and spiteful, and I'm sorry for having hurt you. I'm so ashamed and I feel so unclean that I did those things with him. Ron, I feel guilty all the time now. I wish so bad that I could go back and stop myself, but I can't, Ron. I can't push some undo button and make it all go away. I wish I could. She was quiet. I guess she was all cried out for the time being. I can't keep from wondering, Sherry, I said in a voice barely above a whisper. When did you make the decision that you could F him and it would be all right? And how did you make a decision like that, huh? What made it okay in your mind to use S with someone else to solve a problem you had with me, huh? I never made a decision to do any of that, Ron, she said in the same voice. If I had been making decisions, I wouldn't have made this bad a mistake. It just happened. I didn't want it. I didn't go looking for it, she said. That did it. I'd had enough. I straightened up in my chair and started gathering the pictures together and patting them into a neat stack. I was fed up with all. No, it didn't just happen, I said briskly. Come on, Sherry. You weren't just walking through the casino that night and suddenly find a strange C sticking out. No, sirree, Bob, that's not what happened. You let this happen. Hell, Sherry, let's be frank here, you made it happen after you got back home. And by the way, you damn sure did want it, and you most emphatically did go looking for it. At least here in the town we live in, even if I believe you when you say you didn't in Vegas. Damn, take a little responsibility for this, Sherry. This wasn't a lightning bolt coming out of a clear sky. You did it, you liked it, and you kept on doing it, period. She just looked at me. She was in shock, I guess. And it wasn't a mistake either, I added. A mistake is when you reach for a can of tomato soup on a supermarket shelf and you come away with mushroom instead. Hell, this is more like the mother of all catastrophes. And I guess that's just the way it's just going to have to be, Sherry. I told her. I can't live with a woman I can't trust. They don't have chastity belts anymore, and I wouldn't lock you in one if they did. If I have to worry every time I leave your side that you're going to be some guy when I'm out of sight, well, I'd rather just get out of the situation. I'll leave you to every Tom, John, or Harry you want to or do all three of them at one time. For all I care. I put the pictures in my inside jacket pocket and stood up. I don't have anything else to say, Sherry, and the time we agreed to talk on is almost over. Do you have anything you need to say to me? She stood and looked me in the eye across the table. Just one thing, Ron, and then you can go if that's what you want. I just thought I could explain to you what happened and see if we could find a way through this. I snatched one of the pictures from my coat pocket. I held it by one corner and showed it to her. Sherry, I don't need an explanation. This is it. This is what happened. This one photograph tells me everything I need to know. If it didn't, what Cal and Melissa told me would have done the job sooner or later. I don't understand where you're coming from. Don't you get it? When you went up to your room in Las Vegas with that man and closed the hotel door behind you, you shut me out of your life. You killed the marriage with just that one act. All the rest of it is just piled on top of more. There is nothing you can explain away. The facts are the facts, and nothing on God's green earth is going to change them. I don't know what else I can say. Well, how about if I say there is no explanation that will change a damn thing? Does that make it any clearer? She seemed to summon some last bit of courage. In the process, she completely ignored what I just said, I guess. She surely didn't comment on it. Ron, I love you, and I will always love you. I want you to remember that, she said. I've been selfish, petty. I've screwed things up bad, but I won't ever stop loving you. Can you understand that, Ron? I nodded. I shrugged. I didn't doubt she thought she did, standing with me in this room and at this moment. But it was an awfully one-dimensional, self-serving love if it was flexible enough to let her to do what she'd done. I pulled my jacket into a better fit across my shoulders and turned away from the woman who had been my wife. Ron, I'm sorry, yeah. I know, I muttered, not looking at her. I didn't say anything else, and neither did she. Sherry didn't try to touch me as I walked out the door. I was glad, because I knew whatever she felt for me deep inside. Locked away in a vault I'd never open again, I still loved her as much as the day I'd married her. Love couldn't overcome this. She dishonored our marriage and me. There was nothing left to salvage, and it was best left behind. I shut the door behind me, closing it firmly but without making an echo boom down the corridor.